Hello students, this is Dr. Sujata Magdum, Assistant Professor in Zoology, KTHM College, Nashik. Today, I'll be dealing with physico-chemical properties of water for TYPSC student for the subject Biological Chemistry, which is included in Chapter 1, that is Introduction to Biological Chemistry. Right? Now, before we go into the depth of the physico-chemical properties, let us have a small recap of what we have understood in structure of water in the previous lectures. You know that a single water molecule is composed of one atom of oxygen and two atoms of hydrogen. If we consider the atomic structure of oxygen, we can say that there are four lone pairs of electrons in the outermost shell of oxygen, whereas in the outermost shell of hydrogen, there is one single electron. As a result of which, both oxygen as well as hydrogen, they don't show a balanced, clear shell into its outermost orbit. This results into interaction between hydrogen and oxygen, and this led to formation of a hydrogen bond between the hydrogen atom and the oxygen atom, and therefore there is formation of a water molecule. So when a single water molecule is formed, two lone pair of electron, they remain unbinded, whereas two of them, they get bounded with the hydrogen atom. This results in development of partial negative charge and partial positive charge on the water molecule. So we can see that wherever there is presence of a lone pair of electron into the oxygen molecule, that area exhibit partial negative charge, whereas the area which shows binding of hydrogen bond with the oxygen, there the partial positive charge is exhibited. Now, because of partial positive and negative charge on the same molecule, we can say that water exhibits dipole character. Now, here, the interesting fact is the distance between the two hydrogen atoms within the same molecule is 104 degrees and 9 minutes, which comes approximately 105 degrees in the measured condition. Now, as a result of this, we can say that likewise, many of such molecules into the vicinity, they come closer and gives rise to formation of a complex structure. So in doing so, many of the molecules, water molecules, they are linked together by their opposite charges. Means the oxygen atom which is partially negative will always show binding with the hydrogen atom which is partially positive, and therefore the linking will lead to formation of a multi-molecular structure giving rise to water as such. Now there are two different types of bonds which we can see into the water, that is one within the molecule and one between the molecule. Both within the molecule as well as between the molecule, they are hydrogen bond, but the difference is the hydrogen bond which is within the molecule is called as intra-hydrogen bond, which is covalent, whereas the bond which is between the two molecules of water, this is inter-hydrogen bond, and this is comparatively weaker as compared to that of intra-hydrogen bonding, which is covalent bonding. Now this intermolecular bonding, which is a hydrogen bond in fact, is responsible for giving various physico-chemical properties of water, which we are going to understand shortly. Before we go into the depth, we'll see what are the different states of water in brief. You know that water is the only substance which exhibits all the three different states at room temperature, that is solid, liquid as well as gaseous form. In solid form, we can see water being converted to ice. In liquid form, it is free flowing liquid. and in gaseous condition it shows gaseous vapors. Now all these three different forms of water or the states of water is totally dependent on the configuration of individual water molecule with respect to one another. What does it mean? It means that if there is compact arrangement of these single water molecules, then it will give rise to formation of a crystalline form of water, that is ice. If they are loosely arranged, then there is formation of liquid state of water, and when the distance between the two molecule is very huge, or we can say if the intermolecular hydrogen bonds are totally absent, then it gives rise to formation of gaseous state of water, right? Coming back once again to ice, we'll see why this compactness of ice is observed. It is only because here you can see into the diagram wherein it has been shown the tetrahedral form of the oxygen within the water molecule. So here you can see red balls, they are defining the oxygen, which means that a single oxygen of one single molecule is seen linked with four other oxygen molecules in its vicinity, giving rise to tetrahedral form, and therefore there is a tetrahedral arrangement observed into the structure of ice, and this results into formation of small cage-like structures, and this is going to give rise to the ice structure of water. Further, if you see into the water which is in the liquid state, here we can say that ice will transform itself into water at room temperature with rise in temperature, wherein whatever interhydrogen bonds were present, they will be seen broken up or disturbed, and as a result there will be loosening of the molecules, and this will give rise to free floating form of water. Whereas the same water, when it is been heated, or if the temperature is increased more, we can say, will still get converted into the uniton or singleton molecules, and these singleton molecules will not show presence of any interhydrogen bonding, and therefore they will be seen freely moving across, right? Thus we can say that the hydrogen bonds which are present in the molecule of water, they are responsible for keeping the molecule either condensed together, close together, forming an ice-like structure, or if they are slightly seen apart, giving rise to formation of liquid, and when they are totally apart or segregated, they give rise to the gaseous state of water. Now we'll see the properties one by one. The first important property of water is cohesion. Now what is cohesion? Cohesion refers to clinging. Clinging means the molecules, they come close to one another and they are seen adhered to one another. They are seen stuck to one another. Now this sticking or clinging of molecules is only because of the hydrogen bonding, and this cohesion property is always seen onto the surface molecules of the water layer, which gives rise to formation of a thin film-like structure, right? Further, when these molecules are showing clinging, it is only because of the polarity of the water which makes them to cling together or to come together. Polarity once again refers to presence of both positive and negative charges onto the same molecule, which enables the nearby molecules to come closer and form a associated structure, and this results into formation of a molecule which is in close vicinity. Obviously we can say the structure which we obtain is going to give rise to a tetrahedral arrangement, wherein one single oxygen atom is being seen linked with another 4 oxygen atom, and therefore this arrangement is called as tetrahedral arrangement. So millions of water molecules, they will come together, giving rise to this kind of structure within the water drop, and Therefore, the charges of the water molecule, we can say, are responsible for making them stay together for a longer time, and this property is defined as a cohesion. Thus, what you can remember here in the slide is cohesive property is that property of water which enables large number of water molecules to stay together. It is because of the polarity of the water molecule which enables the charged surfaces of the water molecule to stick together and results into formation of a thin film onto the surface, right? And this ability is defined as the cohesion, right? The next property is adhesion. Now, in case of adhesion, you have to remember that there is the tendency of the water to stick to any other component which is merged into it or which comes in contact within it. That means here into the diagram you can see a pin which is been in contact with the water molecule. So these red arrows, they are showing the contact of the water molecule to the pin. Now this property of the water molecule to get associated with the pin or the needle is because of its adhesion property, right? This adhesion property is therefore we can say is the ability of the water molecule to get attracted to any other substance. And once again, this attraction is because of the charges which are seen present into the water molecule as we have discussed earlier. So what is the significance of this property with reference to biological life? We can say that the bodily fluid, or the best example if I quote is of your blood. The blood which is seen flowing into the blood vessel, it keeps flowing because it is seen adhering to the walls of the blood vessel. So what exactly is adhering or is getting attached with the blood vessel is the plasma part of the blood which contains maximum amount of water. So unless and until this ability was seen present into the water molecule, it is not possible for the blood plasma to move smoothly into the blood capillaries, which are the finest tubules which helps in transporting the blood to each and every cell of your body, right? Now the third important property is surface tension. Now what is surface tension? Surface tension is observed once again onto the surface of the water, right? Now the surface layer of the water, if you see, it will contain only few molecules which are interacting with one another by intermolecular force. Why I am saying so? Because the upper part of the water molecule will be always seen in contact with the air, right? As a result, that will not show any interaction with the air for formation of any kind of property effects, right? Whereas the molecules which are present within this thin layer, they will interact and they will bring about certain kind of interaction within themselves, one of which is called as the surface tension. And this surface tension is because of the charges which are present onto the water molecule to remain together for a longer time. As I mentioned that only few molecules will show this kind of interaction, this results into formation of a thin film. Moreover, this surface tension is always influenced by the gravitational pull. And if this is the condition, then the big question arises how this water strider can walk onto the surface of water. It is only because whatever molecules are present onto the surface thin layer, they are closely or compactly arranged, sticking together tightly so that there is no gap seen in between, and this feature enables this water strider to move very easily into the onto the surface of water. Also, this surface tension plays an important property or role in pulling of the water into the capillary, which we are going to discuss next. You know that the plants, they derive their nutrients from the roots and then it is transported to different parts of the plants or the trees, right? Now this movement of water molecule or nutrient is always seen against the gravitational pull. So here there are two important properties which we need to consider. The first one is adhesion and the second one is capillary action. Now in case of capillary action, we can say the movement of molecule is seen into the capillary because the molecules are charged and they will always try to get attracted towards the oppositely charged molecule. As a result of which the water molecules, they will be seen rising into the capillary, correct? Whereas adhesion, because the water molecule once it enters into the capillary, it will again interact with the charged surface of the capillary and therefore this interaction is defined as adhesion, which we have seen little earlier. Further, with reference to the physiology of plant, if I want to say, we can say that the wettable surfaces which are causing a film of water to be partially pulled away from other water molecule will enable its migration or movement from the lower surface towards the upper. And this is the only principle which helps us to understand how the roots of the plant, they help in providing the water and nutrient to various parts of the body. Similar is the case with the fluid which is circulating in your body. Even though you are standing erect, the water, it does not drops down. It still keeps moving into the upper region and even it reaches to the head region. The only reason is of the two important phenomena, that is adhesion and the capillary action. I hope it is clear. Now the next important property is viscosity. In case of viscosity, we need to understand what the term viscosity means. Viscosity refers to the measure of the liquid which resists its free movement or free flowing. Or in other words, we can say the substances will not very easily move. And if it is so, then we can say that the substance is highly viscous. The best example is any syrup, honey you can say. These, when you try to drop, it will not show free movement onto the surface. Whereas if you drop water, it will immediately start flowing. The reason is water is less viscous as compared to syrup or honey or oil, right? Next is solvency. Solvency refers to the ability of the water molecule to make all the solute particles get dissolved into it. Therefore, we can say that water, it acts as a universal solvent. Or in other words, we can say if the solute is a liquid, then water is miscible. If this miscibility is observed, that means the two fluids, they are homogeneous in nature. They are intermingling very easily and therefore they form a homogeneous mixture. Now this property enables us to classify the substances as hydrophilic and hydrophobic. Hydrophilic are those substances which have the ability to get mingled with, mixed with the water. Whereas hydrophobic are those substances which do not get easily mixed with the water molecule. Or in other words, we can say all the hydrophilic substances, they should be polar in nature, whereas hydrophobic substances, they should be non-polar in nature. The best example of hydrophilic substance is NaCl. You know that NaCl is made up of sodium and chloride ions, right? Now, when you dissolve sodium chloride in water, what is sodium chloride? Your common salt, you can say. When you dissolve into water, when you add it into water, it gets immediately dissolved. You cannot see the crystals of sodium chloride. What is the reason behind this? The reason is because sodium chloride is made up of sodium ions and chloride anions, then we can say that these sodium ions, they get surrounded because it is positively charged. It will get surrounded with negatively charged oxygen molecule, whereas immediately the chloride ion which is negatively charged will get adhered with large number of hydrogen ions which are positively charged. Therefore, this way the two different molecules will be seen mingled together, giving rise to formation of a complete miscible substance or forming a homogeneous liquid, right? Now this property is very important because if this is observed, then only it is possible for our blood or the water which carries nutrient to different parts of the uh, plant body to carry the different substances from one region to another region. Or in other words, I should say that the ability of this water to have the solvency enables the different components within the plasma part or within the water to move from one region of the body to another region of the body. So you may have the question in mind, is it only the hydrophilic substances which are carried from within your plasma? The answer is no. There are large number of substances which are hydrophobic in nature, like fats, you can say cholesterol. These are all hydrophobic in nature. They don't get carried in the same form. So what is the mechanism by which these hydrophobic substances will be carried? It is by formation of a lipoprotein complex, wherein the lipoprotein, it will form the outermost covering and the substance will be seen present within this lipoproteinaceous covering, which will be present into the plasma, and this way the process of transportation will be observed very easily. Then comes the thermal capacity of water. This is very interesting and important property of water. In case of thermal capacity, I'll be discussing the specific heat capacity, heat of vaporization and heat of fusion. Now what is heat capacity? Heat capacity refers to the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of substance through 1 degree Celsius, right? So this is called as heat capacity. And this heat capacity of water is very high. It comes nearly 4.2 joules, and this is literally important for understanding how the temperature or the climate is regulated within our this planet, and which enables us to live very safely, right? Further, the second important feature is heat of vaporization. Now what do you understand by heat of vaporization? Again, this is the amount of heat required to change the liquid to the gaseous form, that is into the vapors. And third one is heat of fusion. So what is heat of fusion? Again, this is the amount of energy required to change the liquid into the into the solid state, right? Now both heat of vaporization and heat of fusion, these properties, they can be included into the heat exchanger, or you can say they are responsible, they are acting as the important property of water, which gives rise to its fact that the water can be defined as a heat exchanger. And this heat exchanger enables the cooling effect and gives a benefit to the living system or the living society, right? Now these properties are all due to presence of hydrogen bonds that need to be formed or broken, so that there will be conversion from solid to liquid or liquid to solid and so on, or even into the gaseous state. Therefore, whatever temperature is for all these different conditions, we can say temperature, it plays an important role. And therefore, we can say that the temperature of water always remains very steady, and this important phenomena of the water to remain in the relative stable state enables the aquatic life to survive even into the harsh summer condition or into the winter condition. Now let us discuss the ability of water as a heat exchanger. As I said, it acts as a coolant. Now to understand what is coolant, let me take you to a vehicle. You all know that vehicles, they have the coolant, and water is the best coolant which is used in the engines during the run of the vehicle, right? In the same way, in summer, you feel that you are sweating, and once you sweat a lot, and then you feel the sensation of cooling, because whatever excess amount of heat is present within the body, it is lost through the water. Now let us see how it is. We know that whatever high temperature one will be seen encountering, it can lead to damage of tissue, or it can lead to denaturation of protein, and as a result of which this will totally affect the physiology or metabolic activity of the life. Further, it takes a lot of energy for the water to change the temperature. Therefore, the heat and the cooling effect, they are always seen very slow when you compare it with reference to air and land with that of water. This is useful to animals in hot climate who can use water or mud as the cooling agent during the harsh climatic conditions. This water, it evaporates, removes lot of energy from the system, and as a result it gives the cooling sensation. That is what I just spoke with reference to summers when you feel very hot and you're sweating. The skin and the blood vessels, they are cooled by removing or giving out of the sweat along with the large amount of latent heat energy. Water is consisting, I should say the body of any organism is consisting 70% of water, which includes blood, and because it has the ability to resist the change in the temperature, the cooler blood from one part of the body, it can be seen circulating to another part, and therefore this way the temperature within the body is maintained, and it helps in thermoregulation of the body, right? Now comes the density. Now density, is not an absolute value with reference to water. Now this is because we can say that at different levels with different change in temperature, the variation in the density can be observed. The maximum density of water at 4 degrees Celsius is observed as 1 gram per cubic centimeter. The density of water at 0 degrees is very less as compared to that of 4 degrees Celsius. This means that when water is heated from 0 degrees to 4 degrees, its volume will decrease because its density is getting increased. And this increase will be seen only till 4 degrees, and later on the density will decrease automatically, right? Now in ice, the molecules which are seen aligning themselves in a regular lattice manner, which is very geometrically configured rather than having a random orientation, which is usually seen with the liquids. In this situation, we can say that the lattice arrangement allows the water molecule to be more spread out than in the liquid, and thus the ice is less dense than the water. Now, if you consider the melting point and boiling point of water, we can say that the melting point of water is 0 degrees Celsius, whereas the boiling point is 100 degrees Celsius. Now, if you consider these two values, we can say that there is a large difference between the melting point and boiling point. And this property is very important because it means that water can exist as at liquid as well as it can exist as the gaseous in a large varied range of temperature. Now this is achieved only because the water, it shows a high specific capacity. The intermolecular forces between them must be disturbed, and in this case, these forces are much more stronger than the hydrogen bond, and so lot of energy is needed just to break these bonds before these bonds can start making up, and this enables them to have a very high boiling point. Water even freezes at 0 degrees Celsius, which is all the same to that of the melting point, because when the atmospheric temperature falls below 0 degrees centigrade, then only the phenomena of freezing can be observed. This is very important and for the aquatic mode of living, wherein the surface water it starts forming the ice layers and rather than the water getting converted into ice from the bottom. This enables all the aquatic organisms which are seen residing at the bottom levels, that is the fish, planktons and so on, to live happily even when the temperature falls below to 0 degrees in the atmosphere. The water is tasteless, it is odorless, and pH is nearly alkaline, which enables it to be consumed very easily. Thank you so much.